Hi everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this beanie here. Let's see, you're going to have to know how to single crochet, double crochet, front post double crochet, and then the puff stitches, which aren't hard at all. So intermediate pattern because of the stitches, but beginners, I think you can do it. So this will fit a size 21 and a half inch head, and it's approximately 8 inches long. You can make it longer if you want, make it a slouchy. That's all completely up to you. So let's go ahead and get started on this. For this project, I am using a Red Heart Dreamy, which is a 100% acrylic medium weight number 4. You don't have to use this yarn. Any medium weight number 4 will work, but the color that I'm using is called Aqua. This is a big ball. There's 466 yards, but you're probably going to need about 175 yards of yarn to complete this hat. And then you're going to be needing a size J, which is a 6mm crochet hook. Alright, this is a top down hat, so we're going to start from the top and we're going to work our way down. So we will start off, as always, with a slip knot on our hook. And we will work a chain of 3. And we're going to slip stitch into the first chain to form a ring. If you prefer to use the magic circle here, that would be fine also. Okay, we're going to chain 1. Now that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So we want to yarn over and we're going to work 12 double crochets through the center of the ring. So we're going to go into the ring, draw up a loop, and then go ahead and work your double crochet as normal. So that would be my first double crochet through the center. We want a total of 12. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I have finished my 12 double crochets for round 1. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that tail of the tail, and it should close up that circle a little bit more. I'm going to end round 1 by slip stitching into the first double crochet that I made. Not the chain one, but the first double crochet. And that ends, oops, sorry about that. That'll end round 1. Now we're going to start round 2 by chaining 1, which remember does not count as a stitch. And we're going to go back and we're going to work in that same stitch there that we just slip stitched into. And we're going to work 2 double crochets into that same spot. So there's 1. And there's 2. And then we're going to continue that pattern by working 2 double crochets into every stitch all the way around. So 2 into the next. Two into the next. Just like that. So round 2 is 2 double crochets in every stitch until you get back to your starting point. Alright, I've made it to the end of round 2, and you should have a total of 24 stitches now. We're going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into our first double crochet. And that'll end round 2. Now we're going to start round 3. Round 3 is going to be a puff stitch round. So we're going to go ahead and chain 1 for our first puff stitch, and we're going to work it right back in the same spot that we slip stitched into. So this is how we do the puff stitch. We're going to yarn over, go into that stitch, and draw up a loop 3 times. So that was once. Again, yarn over, go into the same stitch, draw up a loop. That's 2 times. One more time. Yarn over, go into the same stitch, draw up a loop. That's 3 times. You'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 loops on your hook. yarn over, go through all 7, and then chain 1 to lock. Now we're going to work a puff stitch in every single stitch all the way around. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to the next stitch. I'm going to yarn over, go into the stitch, draw up a loop. We need to do that 3 times. So that was 1, yarn over, go into the same stitch, draw up a loop. It's 2 times. 1 more time, yarn over, same stitch, draw up a loop. That was 3 times. 7 loops remain, yarn over, go through all 7, chain 1 to lock it. Okay, again into the next stitch, we do another puff. So we're going to yarn over, go in, draw up a loop. You want to do that 3 times. That was once. Again, 2, and there's 3. 7 loops remain, yarn over, go through all 3 loops, chain 1 to lock, and we're going to repeat this pattern of 1 puff stitch in every stitch all the way around until we get back to our starting point. Alright, I have come to the end of round 3, my puff stitch round, and you should have a total of 24 puff stitches. Now this is how we're going to end it. We're going to end it by slip stitching into the top of our first puff stitch. So if you take your first puff stitch and you kind of pull apart, you see that little hole right there at the top? That's where we're going to go into. So we're going to go into that. And then we're going to slip stitch just like that. There we go. Now we're going to start round 4. Round 4, we are going to chain 1, and we're going to double crochet right back into that same spot that we just slip stitched into. And then we're going to double crochet in the chain 1 space between the puffs. So right in between the puffs in that chain 1 space. And then we're going to double crochet on top of the next puff. So I know my yarn is a little fuzzy, but if you just pull the stitch on top of the puff apart, you'll be able to see where you need to go into, right on top of that puff. Double crochet, and then double crochet in the chain 1 in between the puff stitches, and then on top of the next puff, and then the chain 1 in between the puff stitches. So I'm going to repeat this pattern all the way around. It's 1 double crochet on top of every puff and the chain 1 space in between each puff. We'll put a double crochet. So I'm going to repeat this all the way around until I get back to my starting point. Alright, I'm coming to the end of round 4, and I did my last, I did a double crochet in my last puff stitch. Now remember, you need to double crochet into the very last chain 1 space. That's the last spot there. And now you'll have a total of 48 stitches all the way around. We're going to end round 4 by slip stitching into our first double crochet. Just like that. Round 5, we're going to do an increase round again. So we're going to chain 1, and we're going to put 1 double crochet into the first 3 stitches. So go right back into that very first stitch that we slip stitched into. Just 1, and then we're going to go to the next one, double crochet. Oh, there's 2, and then the next one, double crochet. There's 3. And in the next one, we're going to put 2 double crochets in the same stitch. Just like that. And that's what we're going to repeat now for round 5. 1 double crochet into the first 3 stitches, or into the next 3 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3. And then it'll be 2 doubles into the next. 1 double into the next 3. 1, 2, 3, and then 2 into the next. So go ahead and repeat this pattern all the way around until you get back to your starting point. Okay, I've come to the end of round 5. Your last stitch should have 2 double crochets in it, and you want to go ahead and end by slip stitching into your first double crochet, and now you should have a total of 60 stitches. Okay, so rounds 6, 7, and 8 are the repeat rounds for the rest of the hat. So we're going to go ahead and start round 6 by chaining 1. We're going to go back into that same spot that we just slip stitched into and double crochet. And now I'm going to front post double crochet around the next stitch. And then I'm going to put just a regular double crochet into the top of the next stitch. And then I'm going to front post double around the next. So that's the repeat now. It's just regular double crochet into the top, and then a front post double crochet into the next one. Regular double crochet and front post double crochet. Regular and front post, and we are going to repeat this all the way around for round 6 until we get back to our starting point. This yarn is fuzzy. Just like that. That's what it looks like. Gives you the ridges on it. Okay, I've come to the end of round 6. Now your last stitch should have been a front post double crochet, and you want to go ahead and end by slip stitching into your first double, and you'll still have 60 stitches. You'll always have 60 stitches when you're working on the double crochet rows like this. Okay, so now we're going to do round 7 is going to be a puff stitch round. We're going to do it just a little bit different than we did the last one. So we're going to chain 1, and we're going to go right back into that same spot and work our puff stitch. Same puff stitch as before. Like that, and then you chain 1. The only difference is now we're going to skip a stitch. So we're skipping this front post double, and then we're going to puff into the next regular double. Chain 1, lock it, skip the next stitch, so skip and then puff into the next. So the only difference really between this puff stitch row and the last one is we're skipping a stitch in between. Skip 1 and puff into the next. So I am going to repeat this pattern all the way around until I get to the end of round 7. Just like that. Alright, I have made it to the end of round 7, and I did my last puff stitch. I chained 1. I have 1 stitch left to skip, so I'm going to skip it, and I'm going to end by slip stitching into the top of my first puff. Remember, right here. Now you should have a total of 30 puff stitches and 30 chain 1 spaces every time you do a puff stitch row now. Okay, round 8 we will start. So last round of the repeat, we're going to chain 1, go right back into that stitch and double crochet there on top of that puff, and then we're going to double crochet into the chain 1 space, double crochet on top of the next puff. So remember, if you pull the puff apart, I know my yarn's fuzzy, but you'll be able to see it right there. Double crochet, double crochet in the chain 1 space, on top of the next puff, in the chain 1 space, and on top of the next puff, and I'm going to repeat this pattern all the way around. So I'm double crocheting in every chain space and on top of every puff now for round 8. Just like that. All right, I've made it to the end of round 8, and I did my double crochet on top here of my last puff. Now remember, it's important to remember there is a chain 1 here after your last puff. You got to make sure you go into that, otherwise you won't have 60 stitches. That's what you need to have. Now go ahead and end round 8 by slip stitching into your first double crochet, and now we're just going to repeat rounds 6, 7, and 8. So the next round will be the double crochet, front post double crochet, double crochet, front post double crochet, and then it'll be a puff stitch, and then it'll be the double crochet, and then it'll be the front post double crochet, and then it'll be the puff stitch, and then it'll be the regular double crochet. So just keep repeating rounds 6, 7, and 8 until we get our hat a little bit longer. All right, I have finished my 14 rounds, and that is starting from round 1. So your last round should have been just a row of plain double crochet. If you want to make this longer into a slouchy beanie, you can, all you have to do that is just continue repeating the rows until you get it a few inches longer, and then it'll be a slouchy beanie. If you're working on that for Lion Brand's Hat Not Hate project, slouchies are fine to send in also. Otherwise, for row 15, I'm just going to finish my hat off with a row of single crochet. So I went ahead and ended in a slip stitch, and now I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to go back right into that same stitch and single crochet, and I'm going to work around putting 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around. This will be my finishing round until I get back to my starting point. Just gives it a cleaner edge at the end. There we go. All right, I've made it to the end of round 15, and I still have 60 stitches, just like always. So now I'm going to go ahead and end with a slip stitch into my first single crochet that I made, and I'm going to clip my yarn, tie off, and then hide that tail, and then I will be finished. And that is it. I hope that you enjoyed my tutorial. I hope you were able to follow along okay. I always hope everybody can follow me all right. If you enjoyed this and you were able to follow along, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed. And click on the bell notification so you don't miss any of my tutorials. I also do a lot of yarn reviews and yarn unboxings and a lot of yarn talk because I like yarn. A lot. I'm going to put a playlist over there on the right hand side of the screen of all my crochet tutorials that I have available for free on YouTube. I have hundreds of them. So go ahead, if you get time, you can check them out. I'm sure there's tons of stuff there, pretty much anything you can think of. So maybe you'll find something that you like and want to make. So that's it. Until next time, thanks for watching. Have a good day.